Wrestling fans around the corner, around the world. I'm Dan Marty.
And Native American Tatanka.
We got some more great wrestling talk coming your way, folks. A brand new Wrestling Insiders is up next. Stand by.
Wrestling fans, Saturday night, May the 8th, MWF Studios gets extreme as ECW legend New Jack joins us for the very first time, taping episodes of Wrestling Insiders along with taking part in a live cyber autograph signing open to fans around the world. For more information on joining the three-time ECW Tag Team Champion for must-see TV, visit bostonwrestling.com and our social media platforms.
Wrestling fans around the corner, around the world. I'm Dan Marty.
And I'm Mr. USA WWE Hall of Famer Tony Atlas.
The road to WrestleMania has begun. Wrestling fans are looking to add to their man caves. You got to see what we have in the eBay store.
Check it out.
Arguably the greatest professional wrestler of all time. Get this limited edition collector's autograph print personally signed by two-time WWE Hall of Famer Nature Boy Ric Flair, inscribed 16 times for each of his recognized World Championship reigns. One of only 50 made direct from our friends at WWE. Also signed by original artist Rob Schamberger. Help keep wrestling legends working. Get this awesome Ric Flair collectible for your wrestling collection now.
Cheer! Why, hello! I would ask what was on your mind, but I already know. You want to know what has got my beard looking oh so majestic. And I'll tell you, it's sexy as hell beard care. Coconut oil, vitamin E oil, almond oil, both sweet and bitter, shea butter, it's all natural. Yes, JTG has actually come out with a high quality product. So support your boy by going to sahbeardcare.com and take one step closer to becoming sexy as hell. Cheer. Ooh, cheer. You know?
Boston Wrestling Sports and the MWF explodes into a new year of unknown with professional wrestling content galore, and we need you to join our family. Every Tuesday night at 10 p.m. after we review the previous night's Monday Night Raw, it's Wrestling Insiders at your house with the unpredictable WWE Hall of Famer, Mr. USA Tony Atlas. Wednesday nights after WWE, NXT, and AEW at 10 p.m., you never know who's going to show up on Wrestling Insiders Special Edition. Every Thursday night at 10 p.m. after our NXT and Dynamite review, it's Marty Jannetty's No Holds Barred Sex, Drugs, and Rock and Roll journey through the 80s and 90s on Wrestling Insiders Party with Marty. Friday nights after the lights go down at the Thunderdome on SmackDown, it's John Cena Sr.'s Wrestling Insiders Fabulous Fridays. Plus, look for classic clips, bonus live episodes, pay-per-view watch-alongs, and more. If you want early, ad-free access to all of our Wrestling Insider talk shows, our acclaimed studio shoot interview DVD library, and to help keep wrestling legends working during the worst of times, for less than a cup of coffee at Starbucks, join our growing family at patreon.com/Boston Wrestling. Expect the unexpected in 2021.
This is Mick Foley.
This is Harley Race.
This is Shelton Benjamin.
This is Mr. Wonderful Paul Orndorff.
This is the Monster Abyss.
And this is Daniel Bryan.
This is JBL, and you're watching the MWF.
Be there live.
All right, wrestling fans, welcome to another Wrestling Insiders. I know we have been surprising you with guests galore this winter to try and get you through the cold winter months, unless you're down living in a much warmer climate.
Nice
like
sunny
Tatanka,
Florida.
Yeah, no blizzards and snowstorms down there for Tatanka. I remember the few months a year I used to get to live in Central Florida, which was nice.
Central,
but
yeah.
the good old days they were. We continue to barrel through the timeline of his career in WWF. Very interesting times. Interesting characters, major events, big-time players in the industry, and legends that will never be forgotten. We're having a great time. I can't believe how little we get through in each episode from my notes, but like I said during off camera, I think that's great. because it'll only give us more
Yes,
opportunity
of
to have
course.
him come back. More great stories for you guys to hear about from the good old days of professional wrestling that I think millions upon millions upon millions of fans yearn for, those that may
course
not
they do.
tune into Raw anymore.
That's right.
All right, back to 1991 as the year started to close out. You worked a string of house shows with the late Hercules, a man that doesn't get his due, in my opinion.
yeah,
Many memories of
Hercules.
Hercules as he was coming, unfortunately, closer to the end.
Yeah, he was coming close to the end there. I really didn't get. I think just a handful of matches.
wasn't
with
a
the
lot.
end. Wasn't a lot. Just what I do remember about Hercules. Just what a monster of a guy he was, and what another great character. Here you got a guy, big, huge guy, gets the name Hercules, and he's carrying around a big chain and swinging a chain. Again, another character.
Perfect.
It fit right perfect with him, you know. He wasn't there for a long time when I came in. Went out. Seemed like a great guy. Never got close to him personally like that. Like I said again, spent a lot of time with the icon again, Undertaker and Paul Bearer, the reason why we're here. Head Shrinkers, Yokozuna. Spent a lot of time with those guys. But Hercules, I just didn't spend that much time with him. Again, at that time, a known name, big part of the 80s.
Big.
You know, the biggest thing with me is just to be able to work with guys like that, coming into the World Wrestling Federation. Don't forget, I was brand new, green.
Just a couple of months in.
Yeah, only a few months in, and here I'm working with guys that you've been watching on TV when you weren't even thinking about getting in the business. So it was an honor to be able to work with Hercules. It was an honor to be able to work with Warlord, Barbarian, guys who you've been watching on TV, and now here you are in the squared circle with them. So I think with Hercules, there's only a few matches, but again, very strong guy, powerfully strong. Another guy who was very strong too was Warlord. Unbelievable.
Oh, we'll talk about how
and he's still a monster.
He was just with us last night, so let me tell you, that's a man that's in good condition.
Yes, he's in good condition. Very strong, still staying on top of his game, still staying in the gym. Just it was an honor to be able to work with someone who was just such a big name in that 80s wrestling, Hercules.
And even though Hercules, at that point, you could probably be fair to say he was past his prime.
Yes.
He wasn't at his peak, but still a great veteran of the big boom of the 80s WWF, someone that gave you, as a newcomer, credibility to come away with the 1, 2, 3.
Of course,
Yeah.
exactly. I mean, look at 1, 2, 3 Kid. You got it right. You know, here he
No
is.
pun intended, Sean.
Yeah, right. I mean, the credibility with how they got 1, 2, 3 over, and he just was over. But again, that was a great storyline too with 1, 2, 3 Kid. You got this underdog. Who
Guy you've never
would
seen
just
before.
somehow pull it out, and then boom, the fan base would pop because everyone was living through that. And all the guys who were the underdog sitting in the crowd, all the people who felt they were the underdog. Here, 1, 2, 3 kept pulling it out, kept pulling it out. It was just things that really made sense. Like I said, how many times you hear it? Keep it simple, stupid. Keep it simple.
Yeah, we were talking
Keep
about
it simple. Things were so simple. You got the underdog. There's no way he's going to get beat. 1, 2, 3 Kid, Sean would get his butt beat sometimes, but man, he'd pull that win out somehow. He'd get that fine spinning drop kick, spinning kick, and somehow get up to that top rope and catch you with something, and get that quick 1, 2, 3 and slide out of the ring. Tremendous, and it worked.
You'd forget about his size as the
You'd
match
forget
began.
it, exactly. That's when you're doing it right. You didn't forget about the size. You really believed in the victory.
You believed in the man.
There you go. You believed in the man. Tremendous. Ain't it tremendous how things were done, how it made you believe, and you wouldn't even look at the obvious 1, 2, 3 Kid. You're not even close to that size.
Yeah.
But it's how it was portrayed and how it was done. Oh yeah, I'm with that. I'm down with that.
That first big win over Razor Ramon on Raw.
Oh, yeah, Razor.
The shock on Scott's
That's exactly what I was thinking.
I lost to this 110-pound guy?
Yes.
What the hell?
Exactly.
And it built and it built and it built into a great little program.
Exactly, it did, of course. And when I was sitting there talking, I was thinking of Razor Ramon in 1, 2, 3 Kid. How he got him over, just tremendous.
Instantly.
And how things were done during that time. So yeah, Hercules was just great to be able to work with because again, coming in at my time, I was able to work with guys who were the tremendous stars of the 80s. Like again, which I'm sure that you're building up to, coming up to Rick the Model Martel. just
We're
tremendous
gonna,
guys.
It seems like it's been eternity, but we're going to get to Rick. We haven't forgot the man since he
Oh,
was
of
such
course.
a big part of your
He
career.
gets
but
a lot.
so many stories have come up in between. We haven't got to you yet, Rick, but I promise you're coming.
Yeah, a lot of people speak highly of him. Sometimes you never get to hear about him from WWE, but man, what a great hand, what a great veteran, what a great talent to work with during that time.
I hope at some point, I know now WWE has a branch of the Hall of Fame when they induct those that have passed away, not to make the ceremony too somber. I hope at some point, especially considering some of the names that have gone in after they've passed away, like someone like S.D. Jones, who was a career
Yes.
undercard enhancement talent. I hope Hercules gets the chance to be enshrined in WWE Hall of Fame. I'm sure it would mean a lot to his family.
Of course, well,
And he had a long run, too.
let's not forget, the greatest matches is not because there's one great superstar out there. The greatest matches that the fans get involved with are the matches that you have two great superstars out there with also a great referee. And if you don't think referees mean something, you remember the Hebners? Hebners were always involved in all those great semi-main event and main event matches and all those close pinfalls. 1, 2,
Just the drama they can
all
add.
the drama. They added drama themselves. They added that charisma that was added to those two great superstars in the ring. Everyone telling a story together. Everyone getting it all over to the fan base all together. Tremendous.
1992 opens up, television tapings galore. You know how those goes. Long, long nights at the office.
Long, long nights at the office.
Let's talk about a couple of guys that don't get a lot of love, that contributed an awful lot to the World Wrestling Federation. What about a guy that had you talk about long careers, some say for Eleanor Rastani, almost like reasons. Brooklyn Brawler Steve Lombardi, you had a victory over him on television.
Oh, wow.
I mean, he put over virtually everyone in every way.
Of course.
Literally.
And he's one of those guys that, again, the Brooklyn Brawler, he had a character.
Even as an enhancement guy.
As an enhancement. And he had a character that really worked. And, man, you could really see it when you were in, like, New York, Boston, Philly, Chicago, those big city areas. They really even got more involved with the Brooklyn Brawler. I mean, they booed him even more.
Yep.
Because those big cities understood those bullies, or the big cities understood about the Brooklyn Brawler. He was just a great character that when he came out there, you know, not only did he look like a character, but he was that guy who you wanted to boo.
And there's a guy that fit wearing the jeans. There's a
Oh,
guy that
yes.
fit having the ripped T-shirt on and so on and so
Exactly.
forth. It fit the character. It wasn't just something that everybody did.
Yeah, and he had one of those brawlers. He even had the black marks on his T-shirt,
Yeah.
looking
All dirty. Yep.
and he just
Almost like
fit
Paul
the.
Glantz,
Yeah,
dirty,
so
yeah.
I spent a lot of time with Brooklyn Brawler when I first came in, just like any of the stars at that time. Brooklyn Brawler, somewhere along that line, anybody who was coming in was going to be used by Vince. You would come across the paths of Brooklyn Brawler. Almost every single guy. Another guy that we can mention is, my gosh, why am I forgetting
Iron
his
Mike
name?
Sharp?
Oh, Iron Mike Sharp was another great one, but why am I forgetting his name? Always patted himself on
Barry Horowitz.
Barry Horowitz. I can't believe. Sorry, Barry. I know your name. I don't know why I'm thinking of Barry Horowitz. Another guy. He could just play that part of being that extra, being that enhancement talent, and truly he would enhance the talent.
Someone that had just enough credibility to think, you know what, there's a chance this guy could win.
Exactly.
Not like a no-name local guy, but someone that was around enough with just enough credibility that they could come away with that upset. And that made you want to watch it even more.
So to be able to get that over, that means they're doing a great job at their job. For you to believe Barry Horowitz could win this. Barry Horowitz could win this, you know, or even Brooklyn Brawler.
Yeah.
He would have his moments, but they would turn around, you know. But just guys like that were great guys to work with because they truly enhanced what WWF at the time was wanting to portray. This is what we're doing.
They gave of themselves to make the overall product a better thing.
Of course they did. Exactly. And that doesn't make any less. You know, again, Barry Horowitz is one of the ones that's always been talked about. enhancement talent. It'd be nice to see enhancement talent going into the WWE Hall of Fame because they really helped to make a lot of the superstars. Some of them worked with several guys.
How good would some of the superstars have looked if they were in there with enhancement talent that couldn't get the job done?
Of course.
It would have hurt someone. Imagine if you were in there with some guys out of some of the type wrestling schools we talked of nowadays that just, they know some moves, but they don't know how to put the pieces together.
Of course.
If you're in there with some stiff and they make you look bad, that's going to hurt you or any of the superstars.
Exactly, it makes you look bad.
Yeah.
So to be able to get in there with a guy like Brooklyn Brawler, who not only did he have a character, but he could get reaction from the crowd. Okay? Being able to get reaction from the crowd is what you want. You don't want to go out there and wrestle a guy who the people don't care about at all. You want to go out there and wrestle a guy that they're responding to, even like Chief Jay Strongbow told me one time. He said, Tatanka, good press, bad press, it don't matter. They're speaking about you. So if they're speaking about you being bad, or meaning he's a heel, I can't stand him, they're still speaking about you.
Right.
Okay? So it's great when you can go out there with a guy, he might never win a match, but man, he's getting a response to the fan base. Just the way he comes out, the Brooklyn Brawler, how he carried himself. Boo! I would stand up on the rope. When he was in the doctor, people would boo him. That's what you want. You don't want someone who people are not responding to, because when you get in the ring, you want them responding when you're throwing him around, or when it's time and he gets that opportunity to get heat on you, you want them saying, come on, Tatanka, come back. We know you can beat him. Come back. You want a response like that from those enhancement guys. So to work with guys like that, invaluable.
And even more of the credible enhancement talent, even they had their own little nuances. We mentioned, Steve Lombardi, Brooklyn Brawler. He had the glance thing about him where he was kind of dirty, and he had the jeans.
Of course.
Barry Horowitz, he had the suspenders, and he did the backpack.
Yes.
Mike Sharp had the black leather gimmick on his arm
exactly.
for years and
Exactly.
years and years. So even they had, the credible ones had something that stood out
They
about
had something
them.
that stood out
Yeah.
about them. Again, getting right back to some kind of character. Not just being a wrestler. There was something there that made them stand out to a point that the fan base could believe in them, that they could pull this out, and again, just tremendous. And Iron Mike Sharp, I see him right now, working out, and I know you've heard the stories, working out backstage, doing
taking a shower.
Hindu squats and long showers, Hindu squats. He would work out so much before the match, it was like, oh my God, he already had the big hard workout in the back.
Yeah, right.
I mean, he would really be working push-ups, Hindu squats. I mean, I can't tell you how much he would work out before he would go to the ring.
With all those showers that he took, he was ready for coronavirus in the 80s.
Oh, yes, he was. He took a lot of showers. He loved his showers, definitely. And he would stay in for a long time.
You were working with someone clean when you got in the ring with him.
Oh, definitely.
I remember Bushwhacker Luke on one of the programs talked about how before he'd be ready to get into the squared circle and work, if someone, kind of an odd story, but if they'd go to use the restroom, he'd make sure that when they came out of the stall, he made sure that they'd wash their hands. He wanted to work with nothing but Mike Sharp. He wanted clean opponents.
Well, in our era of wrestling, and I know that's still important today too, without a shadow of a doubt, especially in, again, coronavirus world. It was very important that not only did the guys take care of the gear, but you took care of your hygiene. Okay, that's standard with wrestling. Like my son is a 2-time state champion and grand champion. It's very important that when kids are out there wrestling on the mat, that when they come off that mat, that not only are you taking off and putting some clean clothes on and putting those dirty clothes in the bag, but when you go back, you're cleaning the bottom of your wrestling shoes. They go straight to a shower. You don't want to have ringworm.
Sure.
You don't want to have all those things. You don't want to have staph, all those things. So again, it's a big thing in our industry that you stay clean. And if you didn't and you had stinky gear and you were dirty, it got back to the office and it could hurt you. It could actually cause you not to have your position. It could cause you to actually get fired.
Did you ever work with anyone that you considered to be dirty?
Well, one guy who guys would joke with all the time would be Matt Bourne, and we don't like to. We
Krusty
don't like
the Clown.
Krusty the Clown. Krusty the Clown, because sometimes he'd pull that gear out of his bag and you could smell it from across the locker room. You don't work with a guy that sweated in his gear, took his gear, threw it in his bag, went back to his room, did what my job every single night, so you know, wrestling fans and talent who I worked with, is all my gear was leather. So you're talking about holding sweat?
Right, yeah.
It would hold sweat.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
what I would do, our job, all talent who wanted to do things right, okay, go back to your room, and I would take all my gear. My wrestling boots would be folded open, moccasin boots, opened up, laid out, and especially during the winter, by the heater. Okay. Also, my loincloth was out, my trunks was out, my forearm bands, my wristbands, everything that I wore in the ring that was sweated was laying out to dry out. Plus, I had Febreze. I would spray it. Okay. But I would also bring 2 or 3 outfits for the same tour.
Right.
2 or 3. Some guys only bring 1 outfit. Never air it out. Stink. Wouldn't wash your stuff on a 10, 15-day tour at all. So again, that's how Matt Bourne got Krusty the Clown. Krusty, stinking, you know, and that got around. And it does affect you. You know, you want to be you're locking up with someone. You're in a headlock. You're in head scissors with your head between their legs. You don't want to be smelling someone's crusty butt or crusty clothes, anything. So, but that's standard protocol in the wrestling industry, not only pro wrestling industry, amateur. I mean, I've been in, you know, tremendous wrestling tournaments all over. And again, it's very important. Kids are cleaning themselves. They bring bacterial wipes, all the stuff to clean themselves right there, to clean their wrestling shoes right there for bacteria, because it can be very harmful for you if you're not, you know?
Well, we had Matt in the studio here before he passed, and I think he had other interests than cleaning his ring gear after some of the shows.
Yeah,
but
of course.
Even someone,
it takes time. That's
sure.
I'd have to go and lay all my stuff out.
How often would you do it, out of curiosity?
Every single night.
Every night you'd
Every
clean your
single
gear.
night.
Wow, okay.
Every single night, still to this day.
Wow.
It's like, it's automatic part of what I do. All the wrestling matches that I do, still thing. Laying out my gear, laying out my loincloth. So by the time I woke up, it's totally dried, smelling, and clean, because I've cleaned it with Febreze, a bacteria cleaner too. I could pack it back in my bag, but I got 2 or 3 outfits. If I'm on a 10-day tour, I got 2 or 3 outfits. So I don't have to wear 1 outfit every single night, okay? I had several outfits. People don't realize I was wrestling 500 days a year. People don't realize how many outfits I actually had. I mean, I'd go and make 4 or 5 outfits at one time. Then a few weeks later, another 4 or 5 outfits, because we're working 300 days a year, but on TV, outfits would wear out fast, so you had to have tons of outfits.
And you always wanted to look good when those TV cameras
and
were
always
rolling.
look good. So you don't want your paint off of your loincloth.
Yep.
You don't want your stuff looking terrible. That's one of the reasons why Vince loved my character. Not only was it colorful, but I had all my stuff looking good all the time. All the pictures you see of me, detailed loincloths, beautiful headdresses, gorgeous necklaces, a true real tomahawk. You know, I took pride in what I wore to the ring, and a lot of it was made by authentic. It wasn't, as we're against China, and I'm against China, and especially what's happened with our country, but it wasn't made in China stuff. It was made by the Navajo tribe, made by my tribe, the Lumbees, made by someone who made true moccasin boots for Native Americans and for movie actors. All my stuff was made by Native Americans, most of everything. You know, even when I came into the business, a lot of my stuff was being made by people in my tribe, beadwork, you know.
Yeah.
Because it was very important to me.
Detail.
Very attention to detail. So again, a lot of different outfits, but yeah, every single night, every single outfit laid out every single time.
You know, he was coming in just as you were departing WWF, but someone that I think that really hurt was Vader. Another gentleman we had here in the studio before he passed. They, instead of his name Leon White, they would call him Leon Ripe. And Bruce Pritchard, you know, in one of our conversations with his podcast program, said he actually had to call the man into the office and have a conversation, a grown man, about his hygiene and working wrestling matches. And I think that's embarrassing.
Of course.
To be honest.
Exactly.
I mean,
they
how
would,
do you know not to be clean?
Of course, they would definitely do that. Well, guys would take gear, and what they would do, I don't care who you are, you sweat with gear, then you take that gear, you throw it in your work bag, and then the work bag is shut, and it doesn't get opened up until the next night. So come on, you got to give it air to breathe. Guys didn't want to do that. They were either straight out or straight to go eat and straight to bed to sleep. It's called extra work. It's called doing the extra work to do what you need to do.
How long did it really take you to unpack your gear, spread it out, open it up, and spray Lysol on it? I mean, I can't imagine if it was that lengthy of a process.
15 minutes max, 15 minutes. And then, of course, you'd have to repack it in the morning.
Right, sure.
10 minutes. So you're spending 25 minutes, but guess what? No one ever said, Tatanka, man, he stunk. Tatanka had nasty gear, not one single time.
In respect to your profession and respect to your peers.
Exactly. That's what it's all about. Respect for yourself and respect for your peers. Okay? And also doing what WWE says, too. Very important, not only do you have your gear on you, but your gear is presentable. And it was just common knowledge. Don't be having stinky gear. Don't be, common knowledge.
It's not something that should have to be told. I mean,
No.
if we were just talking, especially about, we just mentioned two names, but two young green guys, okay, maybe they don't know.
Of course.
But Matt Bowen and Leon were around forever.
And you talking about, I've been to biggest wrestling events all over the world, but I've also done third-party events where again, they have a good crowd, but you have independent wrestlers who never understood anything about that at all, and you walk into an independent wrestling room, and it's amazing how stinky the locker room is, because the guys have no clue about keeping their gear clean. They probably worked a month ago, threw it in the back, because they work once a month, never open it up. I mean, the whole locker room's stinking because 4 or 5 of the guys just got stinky gear, don't have slightest idea about what it is to have clean gear. And you're sitting there talking to a guy, and he's from here to there, and it's like, best thing to do, you remember Linus on Charlie Brown? How you have that black cloud coming up? They got that black cloud. A great story, Charlie Brown Christmas, but Linus, that cloud coming up. I can't tell how many guys be like that in a locker room, have the slightest idea about keeping their gear clean. Very important if you're going to go to WWE. Very important. Or any major company, even AEW. I'm sure they're not letting guys walk around, with guys who are in the locker room there. Rhodes, Chris Jericho, guys who've been around the wrestling business forever. They're going to have guys with stinky gear walking around the locker room. You just don't do that.
It's just common courtesy more than as much as it is professionalism. I mean, just as a human being. Would you go to work at an office in a business environment wearing the same clothes that you wouldn't wash and clean?
Exactly.
Close to people. Never mind putting them in headlocks and making physical contact with them.
Exactly.
That's just one of those things, I guess, maybe where I never worked a match.
Yeah.
It's a little over my head, but it just...
And you didn't have a lot of guys who were like that. You had a few, and you've mentioned a few already. There wasn't a ton of guys. I mean, gear was a big part of our industry. I mean, let me give you, not only did I spend a lot of money, my boots were $1,000 minimum to have made. Some are a little bit more than that. Headdresses, the long trail headdress, $1,500. Regular headdresses, $400, $500, $600. $750, depending upon how nice of a headdress. Yeah, you can go get made in China, but it's going to fall apart in a few weeks. So having the right gear was very important. We understood this. Macho Man.
Oh, come on. Think of his
the jackets, thousands of dollars every outfit. But guess what? Why was he such a superstar? Why is he known Macho Man? The glasses, the hat, the fringe on the jacket, the crazy colors. Ultimate Warrior, same thing. All the crazy colors, his boots. Me and him had the boots done by the same guy.
Oh, did you?
So everyone knows. Same Native American guy that was out in New Mexico, Walk Softly moccasins. We both got the boots done by the same person.
Wow, that's a cool little side note.
If you look at Ultimate Warrior boots and then take a close look at mine, you'll go, wow, they are the same boots. But Ultimate Warrior used those crazy bright neon colors where I use more traditional turquoises, reds, tans, more natural tones.
And look at, you talk about Randy Savage, my gosh, with all those different coats and hats and sunglasses that he'd buy. Look who's making out now, a man that loves himself in his own way. His loving brother Lanny Poffo getting those residual
Of
checks
course.
from all the Macho Man action figures. They have of almost every different outfit that the man ever had made.
Exactly, amazing.
And it makes a new figure. Like you were talking about the different Tatanka figures.
Of course.
Think about how many different Macho Man ones
Of
could be
course.
made. My God.
And why is that? Because of what he did.
Attention to detail.
What he created, attention to detail. And you don't realize it then, but you look at it now and you can put your finger on it. Why is there another action figure? Another one, different look, because he put attention to detail.
And same thing with the Warrior, with the face paint, the different
course,
color types. And I
yeah.
mean, his wife and his little daughters, as unfortunate as he passed, he's still contributing to their life because of that
Ain't that
attention to
amazing?
detail with those checks that they get 4
Ain't that
times a year
amazing?
from WWE.
Yep, I've been getting
Yeah.
them ever since 1990 myself. It's tremendous. So thank you, WWE.
See, you know, it's not a perfect company, it's not a perfect industry, but there's a lot of good that sometimes I think people either don't look for or look at or think of.
Of course, exactly. Tremendous.
I got to ask you about this one, 1992 Royal Rumble. If you want to talk about perhaps the perfect event, from top to bottom, that card in Albany, New York, for the first time, the World Wrestling Federation Heavyweight Championship is on the line in the Rumble itself. Some great undercard tag team matches, plus Roddy Piper's only run as a singles champion in WWF. Tatanka didn't make the cut of the top 30 for the Rumble. I was really surprised by that, the way they built you up. Were you in Albany that night?
If I remember right, yes. Yeah.
In case they needed something.
Yeah, well, let me tell you how it was different then than how it is now. Now you got so much talent that has to cover Raw, SmackDown, NXT. They can't have everybody there.
Right.
Back then, you had a crew that would work all the house shows, all the TVs, and when it came to pay-per-views, everyone was there. It wasn't like extra guys. It was a crew. If there was a few guys who were not on the pay-per-view, it was only a few guys that were not on the pay-per-view. And many guys, there were many star names at times that would not be on a certain pay-per-view.
Right.
Because you had to revolve with whatever storyline was going. And believe me, at that time, having a spot was very important. Like I said, not too many spots were open.
Well,
So yes, we were there at the beginning of my career. It was very important. Vince had me everywhere. And it wasn't just to be there. It was also to watch and learn. Okay, one of the greatest things they wanted to see talent do and to see if you would do it. Would you come to a pay-per-view where they would still pay you for being there? Would you come to a pay-per-view, not paid like working on the pay-per-view, but would you come to the pay-per-view and sit in the locker room and just joke around and all this kind of stuff? You know, would you leave the pay-per-view before it's over, or would you be taking a chair and setting it by the curtain and watching the whole pay-per-view? I can't tell how many times Chief would come out to see what I was doing. I'd be
he
sitting.
really kept an eye on you.
Oh
Looked
yeah,
out for
I'd
you.
be sitting by the curtain. I understood that, but I was brought up, thank God, by the right people in this industry that taught me what the important things were in this industry. So when I got an opportunity to go to the World Wrestling Federation, I understood about, you know, not trying to tell someone what to do. I understood about the veterans calling the match, not trying to tell someone what you can do. Listen, let the veteran call the match. Also, every opportunity you get to learn. Every match that you can watch. Every superstar you can watch. Learn from all those veterans. You're right there watching some of the greatest names in it. Are you going to go off and go eat dinner and you're a greenhorn not knowing anything? Or are you going to sit there and watch some of the greatest names in the wrestling industry and go, wow, now I understand why you do that.
And look at the locker room you had at the time you
The
were
locker-
there.
everybody.
A roster of Hall of Famers. Every
Exactly. Hall of Famers. None but Hall of Famers. So really, you're going to walk away from that and not learn from that? Of course you're going to learn. If you got any common sense to you, you're going to learn. So I can't tell you how many times they would walk out to see the new guys where they sat in a chair. And purposely, also, when they'd put you on the first match, they wanted to see, after the first match, if you'd go take a shower and you'd leave the building, or would you take a shower and then come out and sit in your chair? What I would do, I wouldn't even take my shower. Sometimes I would come back, get my towel, because I'd work hard, sweating, and I'd sit right there all the way till intermission. Right after my match, I'd watch number 2, number 3, number 4, and if there was a 5th, and then during intermission is when I was taking my
So that
shower.
was your-
And then I would come back out and watch 6, 7, and 8. Watch popcorn, semi-main event, and main event. Ever how it was listed. I would sit there and watch the whole card. And then I would leave. What am I going to do? Go out by myself? Some people are like that, wanting to get to their hotel room as soon as they could. I'm done. I'm finished. It would affect you, though. It would affect you. Again, WWE remembers the things that you did. And I think also, you know, I was part of something very, very special, the World Wrestling Federation, which helps you to be part of that Legends contract because you're part of, but you also had to do something. Again, I went undefeated for 2 years. Again, that's like 1,000-0. People talk about Goldberg, a phenomenon, 173-0. I went 1,000-0. Think about that. You know, so that 2-year undefeated streak was tremendous. That's helped me be in the legend category. But I got to wrestle with some of the biggest names too. Shawn Michaels, you know, Ric Flair, Undertaker, Diesel, Razor Ramon. I mean, some of the biggest names in our industry that you're looking at that are all Hall of Famers is who I worked with. So you're not going to sit there, you're not going to watch, you're going to leave and go back to your room. It affects your overall career and your longevity in this business.
So that was your routine virtually every night. Just per se, you were the opener. You go out, you work your match, you'd come back, you'd find a folding chair and kind of peek through the curtain.
Exactly.
Then shower up during intermission and
exactly.
then watch the rest.
Without a shadow of a doubt. Exactly. That's exactly what I did. And come on, you're brand new. 1 year. These guys have been wrestling not only at WWE already 10, 15 years, but they were wrestling somewhere before, AWA or wherever it was.
A lot of territorial
A lot
guys.
of territorial before. You're not going to watch?
Yep.
You just came out of Bally's. You have 1 year of independence, and you're blessed to be here already. What are you going to do? Not watch from the greatest names in the industry? You're watching Hulk Hogan. You're watching some of the biggest names in the industry. Why do the fans love them so much? Look at the key moments, yes. And believe me, I can't tell you how many times Chief would walk up and just be standing there, rocking by the curtain and see me there, and then he'd walk off, wouldn't say anything. But he would go back, and you better believe he'd say, Vince, Tatanka sitting by the curtain again. Tatanka sitting by the curtain again. Tatanka sitting by the curtain again. Just like anybody who would come in, they would want to see that, eager to learn. You find out some of the talent who has done the greatest in WWE might not be the greatest superstar, but it was one who wanted to learn. It was the one who wanted to get better. It was the one who wanted to do it the company way. Vince goes, we're going with this guy right here. Look at John Cena. Not the best wrestler of all, but man, the best ambassador
for the company, absolutely.
Oh, yeah. Vince asked him to do something. That's all you hear about John Cena. Yes. Day off, no problem. There's a kid over here, no problem. With everything he's going on, John Cena, all the success that John Cena has had in this industry, always would do what the company wanted him to do. Okay, so they're just not looking for the best wrestler, they're looking for the best package. Like Lex Luger would say, he was the total package. They're looking for the total package. You know, so yes, they want to see you learning. They want to see you gaining wisdom. They also want to see you understanding what you're supposed to be doing, especially when you were a beginner in the company.
Can you remember those that maybe did the same thing with you, that would sit there and kind of watch a lot of the shows?
Well, again, when I came in, like I told you, when I came in, I can't even think of anybody else.
Really?
Who, it was really one or two few spots. Really, you knew someone on the inside. The way that I got there was this way. So you know how it was. It wasn't like it is now. Guys, I tell people all the time, it is so easy to get into the WWE today. Back then, first of all, when I went into the business and wrestled, when I finally started wrestling, it was with George Scott. Don't forget, George Scott was the booker
during
for
the boom.
WWE, WWF, when it was crazy. Who was George Scott's personal friend, who we spoke about earlier, who everyone misses, who was a genius in the business? Pat Patterson. When the Native American War Eagle Chris Chavis started beginning to be hot and was in great shape, came out of bodybuilding, came out of pro football tryouts and all this, who was he calling? Pat Patterson. Going, Pat, you need to see this guy down here in North Carolina I have. I heard about the conversations. You need to see this guy. Not only is he Native American, Lumbee tribe. You remember Pembroke?
Yep.
They knew because They'd wrestle there. Wahoo used to wrestle there a lot in Pembroke, Lumberton. Why? Because he was Native American. Why? Because he was a native territory. It used to be part of the territory back then. They used to have to fight to get the heels out of the buildings because the natives be trying to cut the heels with knives.
Dangerous.
The fans,
Talk
really.
about heat.
Oh, we're talking about true heat. So again, you know, you got to come see this kid. He's truly Native American. You guys need to check him out. And then I did the extra work, the hard work, and everyone would want to leave after the independence. Again, another thing for guys who want to be superstars or girls who want to be superstars. Back then, when someone would say, hey, I need to do a newspaper article, you know, can you do that? Can you do that? Everybody, no. Because they would have to stay after in the high school gymnasium. Right. When everyone's already gone, everyone's already out having a good time. You know who was sitting in the high school gymnasium? Sometimes because I had worked main event, couldn't even take a shower. You know who was sitting down doing the newspaper article? You know who was sitting down doing the magazine article? And you know why that benefited? Because eventually Tatanka was in Pro Wrestling Illustrated. Eventually Tatanka was in 1990 or 91 in Pro Wrestling Illustrated.
Third runner-up Rookie of the Year.
Runner-up for Rookie of the Year. There you go. Hello? Runner-up for Rookie. But you know why? I understood coming from Bally's that no one's going to market you any better or care about marketing you than yourself.
Who is going to care more about you and your family than you?
Exactly. So I did the articles to be. I went to the schools and talked about staying off drugs. I did all those things. And as more I did it and more I got in the paper, more I got in the magazines, all of a sudden, as they always have, WWF would be looking at those, who's our next superstar? Who did they see runner-up for Rookie of the Year? Who was in the office? George Scott speaking to Pat, who was also in the office. Chief Jay Strongbow. What character do we have before they were successful? Native American, hey.
And you were the real thing.
Hey, the real. You
Jay
see how it came together?
Was as much of an Indian as I am.
Hey, of course, Joe Scarpa.
Yeah.
He was Italian.
Yeah, Italian.
So again, it wasn't that they had this open spot, but they seen this kid who was in great shape, who was an athlete.
Great look.
A great look. And could wrestle. Oh, wait, we can do something with this. And then heard how my attitude was, you know. That's how I got there. George Scott. It wasn't because it's the big revolving door. It was like one or two. So I don't remember anybody at that time. I wasn't sitting there with 10 other brand new guys. I wasn't sitting there at NXT at the school in Orlando with 40 guys who were brand new. I was the brand new kid.
You were
nothing but I was the
young guy.
I was the young guy. I was the green guy with all these great superstars.
Quickly, as we wrap up this show, because you kind of made me curious, can you think of anybody that might have ever hurt, that when they were new and fresh into the company, that they didn't take the time to try and pay attention to what was going on and learn from the great veterans?
I can't remember any per se name, but I would tell you it was a true known fact at that time that if you were green and you were coming in and you weren't sitting down and watching the matches, if you were leaving and going to your motel room, it definitely hurt your career. It definitely would keep you from even getting known fact.
Unwritten rule.
Unwritten rule. You got it.
All right, wrestling fans, I hate to say it. I really do hate to say it because, again, I go through 1 or 2 bullet points on these massive sheets that I come up with. But, again, it shows what great conversation we're having, I should say, with Tatanka. We hope you're enjoying the conversation to my right in the live premieres that we have. You chat away. Hopefully everybody's treating each other with common courtesy. We're big on that. Making new friends around the corner and around the world. Talking about what we're talking about. What did you like about tonight's show? Was there something you didn't like about? What would you like us to talk about? And again, the Super Chat button is always open for business. If you're not watching us during the premiere, that's all right. A lot of people may find this episode years from now. That's happened with a lot of Tony Atlas's episodes. In the comment section below, leave your thoughts. We love to get your feedback because, again, we can only make this show better with your input and your involvement. And if you're like me and it pulls on the strings of your heart and you see what a lot of the great legends of this sport that haven't wound up with the legends contracts and in great spots in life have to deal with, like Tony and Marty and some of the others, join the Patreon that we have. It's only less than a cup of coffee down the street at Starbucks, and you directly help Professional Wrestling Legends Working. In return, you get early, ad-free access to all of the talk shows. You get access to our extensive DVD library. I know who uses DVDs anymore, but the whole collection is on there at your fingertips. It's a lot of fun. You get to make new friends, too. And you know what? The wrestling community, whether they be fans or the brotherhood themselves, we are a unique commodity. So for my friend Tatanka, I'm Dan Marty. Until we speak again, folks, we hope you and yours be well, stay healthy. Good night.
The World Wrestling Federation was live in Cincinnati, Ohio, Saturday, April the 21st, 1984. In the opening contest, B. Brian Blair beat Steve Lombardi. Dr. D. David Schultz with the win over Polish Power Ivan Putski. Spike Huber defeated Billy Travis. Tiger Chung Lee victorious over Pete Sanchez. Tony Atlas and Rocky Johnson battled Rowdy Roddy Piper and Mr. Wonderful Paul Orndorff to a no contest. And in the main event, WWF World Champion Hulk Hogan retained the title over Greg the Hammer Valentine via disqualification. If you were in Cincinnati live, share your memories in the comment section below. Use the links in the description box to keep Wrestling Legends working in our eBay store and on our acclaimed Patreon streaming service so we can bring you more interactive superstar shoot interviews to relive the good old days of professional wrestling. Check it out. Boston wrestling sports in the MWF explodes into a new year with professional wrestling content galore and need you to join our family. Every Tuesday night at 10 p.m. after our Monday Night Raw review, it's Wrestling Insiders at your house with WWE Hall of Famer Mr. USA Tony Atlas. Wednesday nights at 10 p.m. after NXT and AEW, join rotating legends on Wrestling Insiders Special Edition. Every Thursday night at 10 p.m. after our NXT and Dynamite review, it's Marty Jannetty's No Holds Barred Sex, Drugs, and Rock and Roll journey on Wrestling Insiders Party with Marty. Friday night after SmackDown, don't miss John Cena Sr.'s Wrestling Insiders Fabulous Fridays. Plus, look for classic clips, history videos, bonus live episodes, pay-per-view watch-alongs, and more. For less than a cup of coffee at Starbucks, get early ad-free access to our Wrestling Insider talk shows, our acclaimed studio shoot interview DVD library, and help keep Wrestling Legends working during the worst of times. Join our growing family at patreon.com/Boston Wrestling. Expect the unexpected in 2021.